Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. I am your host, Suzanne, head coach at Grace Financial Coaching, and I am super excited to welcome fellow financial coach Katy Hylander today. Katy is a financial coach who specializes in working with couples because most couples feel very overwhelmed when it comes to money. Their finances may be unorganized, chaotic, and they could be bringing in a great income. Sometimes people don't know where that income is going. And Katy provides in-depth one-on-one financial coaching, which helps these couples become more unified in their spending and their saving. And that is huge when it comes to a marriage. Katy's clients end up feeling more confident and hopeful about reaching their goals and building a legacy of wealth. Katy, how are you? Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So tell me a little bit more about your coaching practice and how you specifically help couples, because it's a niche, but man, it's most of the population.
Yes. So couples really speak to me because that's kind of the realm that I am in. My husband and I were struggling, making great money and had no idea where it was going. And I actually had a meeting with one of my clients earlier this week, and they were saying that prior to coaching, they felt like they were in, those like wind tunnels that like blows money everywhere and you're in there like trying to grab it and like stuff it in your pockets and everything. That is what he said they felt like prior to financial coaching. And I was like, that is a genius way to explain how most couples feel. Yes.
Right.
They have no idea where it goes. And so I help them focus and become unified, and it becomes conversations on money no longer are a argument or something that they feel anxious to bring up with their partner. It's almost like they look forward to it. And it's not almost like, they do look forward to it because they create a date night out of it. And it's a time for them to connect together. And so it really strengthens not only their money aspect, but their relational aspect between the two of them.
Definitely. I want to go back to that, game show wind tunnel where all the money is flying around, because that is so true. And it's not just true of couples. It is also true of singles, but the majority of couples these days are both working. So we are sitting here usually with a 2-income household, typically. And we're going, oh my God, we both work. Oh my God, did you see our tax return last year?
Yes.
Did you see how much money we made? Where is it?
Yes.
And so that feeling can happen for singles also, but I think it is magnified when you have a 2-income household with both partners in the relationship working.
Yes, absolutely. And if you think about it, I mean, let's just, for even and easy numbers sake, a household is making $100,000 a year. In 10 years, that means $1 million will have gone through their hands. $1 million. And it's like, okay, well, in 10 years, you're going to have had $1 million come into your household. What do you want your life to look like in 10 years? Do you still want to be in debt?
Right.
Do you still not want to know where all your money is going? Do you want to have saved for your kids' college? What about your retirement? What about all those vacations that you've wanted to go on? You want to go to Italy. You want to go to wherever. Well, let's make that happen, because you're going to have that money. That money's coming in. Now let's be a good steward and tell our money where to go instead of wondering where it went.
Absolutely. So it sounds like you and your husband have been doing this perfectly since day one, I'm sure.
Absolutely not. That's actually why I am now a financial coach, because we're not doing it correctly.
What do you think was the biggest challenge for you guys? Was it the communication part? Was it the deciding where the money was going to go? Once you sat down to do a budget, were you guys were we did one person want to put $1,000 a month towards those vacations and the other one wanted to put $1,000 towards a house? Like, where were you guys when you started that process?
Once we had decided what we were going to do, it made it easy. But it was the fact that we were just kind of blindly going through life and like had no cares in the world at all until we had a baby. And like, that is when your eyes are open to the world and to life's responsibilities. And you're like, oh my goodness, this child is dependent on me making good decisions. And what really, what kind of hit me in the gut was my mom. She was a single mom until I was about 9. And she saved every penny and put me through my first college degree completely paid for. She paid for it. And so I was sitting there, brand new baby, looking at our finances because I was like, okay, my mom did it. And it was just her, and she was not making near the money that Spencer and I were making. Mm-hmm. And I could not find room in our budget to save for our kids' college. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, that was just, I felt ashamed and embarrassed. And I was like, something has got to change. Something's got to change.
Yeah. So what was the biggest change? Were we putting $1,000, $2,000 aside for a vacation every month? Like, what were we focused on that we then shifted in the budget?
So we basically had been listening to culture. Okay. So we both went back to school. When we went back to school, we both got our nursing degrees.
Oh, okay.
But we chose a private university. Okay. Now, especially with nursing, you can go to a community college and get your RN. Okay. Right. So you and still work in the units that we wanted to work in. We wanted to work in ICU. Mm-hmm. And so you just have to have your RN, which you can get at a community college. And we chose a private university.
and a bachelor's, a BSN.
Yes. Yeah. Which we used all student loans for. Oh. Okay. So then we graduate and we get our big girl and big boy jobs. And we're like, oh, well, we got to, gift ourselves some new cars because we deserve it. And that is what culture tells us to do. So we went out and financed 100% 2 new vehicles. Yeah. So that we could impress everybody else.
Yeah.
And we had the money. We could afford the payments. Okay. So then, and we're married at this time, I get pregnant. And if you're pregnant and have a baby, you cannot bring a baby to a rent house or an apartment. You have to own the place that you are bringing that baby home to. Okay. So we went out and bought a house. Well, and this is my favorite. I may be jumping ahead as far as like the dumbest thing that we've ever done. I mean, all of those things are dumb, right? But we had like half an acre where our home was on, and a push mower took too long to cut the grass.
Oh my gosh.
So we went out and financed a 0-turn mower because we had to cut that grass faster.
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to pause you right there because we don't have a half an acre. Half an acre, I can see needing it. I grew up on like just over a quarter of an acre. Mm-hmm. We have just under a quarter of an acre where we are now. Mm-hmm. But my husband grew up with a ride-on mower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so when we got here, he was like, we need a ride-on mower. And I was like, I'm sorry, have you seen the size of our yard? We do not need a ride-on mower. He's like, but my parents had a ride-on mower. Yeah. Like literally like the stuff that we are trained on as financial coaches, the words were coming out of his mouth as if he was a case study in one of our learning modules. Yeah. He's like, but my parents had one. And it's like, I don't care that your parents have one. That nice push mower that my dad, who passed away, had left in his shed and kept in very good condition is going to work just fine on that grass house.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're going to get a really good workout. It's like a 2-for-1.
Oh my goodness. You don't even have to pay a
sure enough, Sure enough, after we did have a very crappy little push mower when we first got here, and it was a miracle the damn thing lasted.
Yeah.
We did end up inheriting my dad's lawnmower because I was like, I know how my dad took care of stuff. Like, this thing's probably going to last until we sell this house.
Yes.
And so we took that, and my husband now is like, okay, yeah, no, it's good. It's totally fine. I literally was at a big box home improvement store yesterday, and you know how they set out all the little sit on and ride on mowers, and I walked past and I was looking at the prices. And there was one that said starting at $4,099.
That's my favorite, starting at.
And I was like, is it part ride on mower, part Roomba? Does it cut the grass for me? Like,
they have those. Have you
I know
seen
they do. I saw them.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
But I was like, if I'm paying $4,000 for a lawnmower, I better be able to push the button and have the damn thing cut the grass for me. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
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 So this is all leading up to obviously the dumbest thing you guys did with money, but this really is a reflection of why you went into financial coaching. So what did you guys do? How did you get it all under control? And then what made you become a financial coach?
Well, so when I realized that we didn't have any margin in our budget to be able to save for our kids' college, I started panicking because I felt like I was suffocating and I was embarrassed. And so I confided in one of my really good friends. Her name's Rachel. And she had actually taken FPU like years ago, so long ago that when you registered for the class, you got the CD, like the CDs for the class.
Right. Financial Peace University, for anybody who's watching and doesn't know. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. And so she still had them, and she got them out of her closet and she handed them to me. She's like, Katy, listen to this. It will change your life. And so I took them and I was like, okay, I will listen to them. Is Spencer going to listen to them? I was like, how can I? Because I mean, if he knows about and knows the information, then like it'll be easy. It's just like getting him to like listen to it. And I was like, we've got a road trip coming up. I'm just gonna pop those CDs and hide them in the truck that had that massive car payment attached to it until we're down the road. And so we did, and I popped them out. I was like, oh, what are these? Let's give these a listen. And so we did. And we were heading down to Houston where both of our families live. And we listened to them the entire way. And we were like, this makes sense. This is a simple plan, and let's just do it. And so that day we decided, okay, enough is enough. And this is how we're going to get out of debt. And we cut up our credit cards, called the credit card companies. And of course they're like, well, do you really want to close your, and I'm like, yes, I do. Mm-hmm. I'm no longer going to pay your paycheck. I'm going to pay myself instead. And so that was how we got on board. And I went to the leaders at my church and I said, hey, can I start teaching FPU? And they said, well, absolutely. And so I've kind of been the Financial Peace University leader at our church, and through that have gotten connected to FCMT, the Financial Coach Master Training, and that's how I've just kind of naturally led me into a career of financial coaching.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. So out of all the things we talked about before, would you say the zero-turn mower was the dumbest thing you've ever done with money?
No, I wouldn't say that was, because again, we had a brand new baby, and if Spencer was tied up mowing the lawn for 4 hours, like I was also, as a new mother, feeling overwhelmed. Gotcha. But I feel like us listening to culture and trying to not just check all the boxes to consider yourself an adult, but also trying to match our current lifestyle to the lifestyle of our parents.
Yes.
our parents have had 30 years to establish this beautiful and wonderful lifestyle. And we were trying to go in debt to match that.
Why do
And
you think our generation, and we are obviously both in the millennial camp,
mhm,
um, why do you think we got that in our heads? How did we get that in our heads?
I think it's because we want what we want and we want it right now. And
The gratification bug.
yes, and the
Yeah.
value of being patient, which I'm always telling my kids to do, and then I'm like, oh, there's that mirror looking right at me. Like I need to be patient too.
Yeah.
It's just okay. Like think about the tortoise and the hare. Who wins? It's the tortoise. It's the tortoise. Be
Right?
slow about it and be methodical about it and think things through. When you're in a rush and everything, you make mistakes, meaning you go into debt and you make maybe a purchase that wasn't quite the right purchase. It's really just slowing down and taking your time to build that wealth and to build that lifestyle because you'll get there. You will.
Right.
Look at your parents. They got
Right.
there, right? And so, yeah, it's that microwave culture that and the, next day delivery or even now the same day delivery type of culture that we have now found ourselves in.
Yeah. It's funny. You said something that made me think of this. When I went to college, I went to a 4-year, I have a lovely piece of paper over there that's worth lots of money that's sitting in a frame now. It's doing absolutely nothing for me. Um,
Collecting dust.
um,
It's collecting dust for you.
it's beautiful. I know. I've
Yeah.
got to dust it once a month. That's fantastic. It was a 4-year private Christian Catholic school.
Mhm.
And the second year, my sophomore year, they had built a brand new dorm the previous year. So I was the second group of students to go into this dorm, and it was my sophomore year.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom moving me into that dorm, and she's looking around and she goes, I know what this place reminds me of. And I was like, what? And she said, it looks like the resort we go to on vacation. And how could I go from that building, sophomore year of college, into a one-room crappy apartment
Right.
when I turned 21 or 22 and left college?
Yeah.
And so something you said just made me realize we bring back the crappy dorm rooms.
Yes. Yeah.
Bring back the cinder block wall that hasn't been painted since they opened the damn school in 1972. Bring back the old rickety furniture. And that has to be the expectation because I think these big private schools like you and I both went to have set the living standard expectation. Yeah, it looks great. The parents feel wonderful dropping you off there. But then you leave and you're 22 and you're like, well, why doesn't my new apartment complex look like my sophomore year dorms that were literally 365 days old?
Yeah.
Everything I move into should be brand new.
Yeah.
Everything I move into should have granite countertops. It had granite countertops. It was a freaking college dorm in early 2000 and it had granite countertops. Like what message are we sending?
Yeah. Yeah. The message is that when you leave there, that you now deserve an apartment that looks very similar to that or to a resort or, whatever. And no, you don't deserve anything unless you have the money to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know. So I'm going to rename this show like Old Millennials Complain About Zoomers.
Yes. Yes, you should.
Gen X, old millennials and Gen X complain about everyone younger than them. That's going to be my new YouTube channel.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Katy. So if you could go back, what would you change? Would we go to a different college? Would we not buy the mower? Would we still buy the mower? What would we do differently?
Yeah, man, I see two paths. One, I'm like, okay, well, we would have shopped around for our school and not shopped around of like, oh, which trees on the campus look better, but really like, okay, let's look at the finances of it. Let's look to see what we can afford. So I would shop around for that. I would have kept my Honda Fit that was paid off instead of going and getting my Mini Cooper that I literally ordered. I ordered it, like checked. I want red. I want 2 stripes on the hood. I want, oh my goodness. Yeah. And we would have, if we had kept that, we would have probably had the money to buy that ride mower without having to finance it.
Without financing it, right? Just paying cash for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we had opened credit cards to earn miles. Okay. Because we had moved from Houston to Oklahoma City. And so we were like, well, we'll just earn miles so that we can fly back for free. Well, we probably only took 1 trip home that we didn't pay for. Okay. That we had earned enough miles to fly back home. So I see that path where, we would have saved a lot of money. But then I also see the path of not changing anything and never have learned the experiences and the mistakes that we made, because those are painful. And when things are painful, you can either wallow in them and be like, oh, I can never, or I can't fill in the blank. Or you can learn from them and be like, that's not good enough. Like, that was a mistake. Let me take ownership of that and pivot and do something new.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I mean,
speaking of doing something new, I want to highlight Katy's Instagram feed. I normally do not do this. All of my guests' information is in the show notes, but Katy's Instagram feed, guys, I'm putting her handle in the comments right now. It is fire. Oh my gosh. Her videos are hilarious. Again, old millennials, called a reel, right? Like, I don't even know, or a story. Yeah. I'm so bad. But if you're watching this, I want you to go check out Katy's Instagram feed, because you know what? It's like real life. I really like the reels and the stories that you do where you're like talking to yourself.
Oh yeah.
Telling yourself. It's so, because most of it's so true. Like, where do you get the inspiration for those? Just
my goodness,
your normal experience?
Yes, that. So my 2 favorite shows are Friends and The Office. I mean, and you will hear a bunch of the audios in those reels from Friends and The Office. And it's just, I'll listen to the audio. I'll just kind of like scroll and just be listening, not watching, but listening to the audio and be like, how can I apply that to finances and all the struggles that we go through? And I absolutely love doing them. And I get a ton of great feedback, and they're like, yes, that's me. And I'm like, I know, because I've been there. Okay. I get it.
Because it's most of us, right?
It's most of us. Yes.
That's another thing that I think can really prevent people. And you already pointed out that it's kind of the keeping up with the Joneses and keeping up with the culture and your society and your group of friends. Yeah. A lot of couples just assume that the couple next door, or that their best friends who are also, dual income, are doing just fine.
Yeah.
And newsflash, I think the last statistic I pulled up was like 89% of households are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm pretty sure that statistic was pre-COVID. So I'd love to see what it is now. So if you're one of 10 in your group of friends, 90% of you are living paycheck to paycheck. That's scary. The fact that you can get people on your Instagram feed who are even willing to be like, oh my God, that's so me. It's everybody. It's almost everybody. It's the majority of us. And don't be afraid to ask your friend to bring up a budget to your friend. I can't tell you how many times I worked with clients and like, they're like, I mentioned that I'm working with you to my friend. And like, all of a sudden we had this great conversation about money. We've never talked about money before. And it's like, because one person can have that effect on all the other people, because it's okay to mess up with money, because we've all done it.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. And now a lot of maybe not a lot, but I would say maybe half of my clients now are referrals from my clients who have found me on Instagram, because they're like, oh my goodness, I totally relate with this girl. And then they tell their friends, and their friends like, oh my goodness, yes, we're struggling too. We have no idea what we're doing with our finances. And so knowing that you're not alone is such a relieving feeling, such a relieving feeling. And then, but then being like, okay, I'm not alone. Now what can I do about it?
Right. Exactly. Everybody go check out Katy's Instagram at financial.coach.katy, Katy. And Katy, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your messy financial mistakes with us today. It's totally worth it in the long run if we can help one person watching this video to say,
Absolutely.
you know what, let me change what I'm doing right now. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for joining us today. And everybody check out the replay of Katy's interview on the YouTube channel, Grace Financial Coaching. Thanks again, Katy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.